You probably think it's the big stuff, your diet, your weight, maybe even your genetics, that decides whether you'll still be standing tall and sharp at 80. But what if I told you it's the tiny, almost invisible habits, ones you barely even notice, that quietly predict whether you'll stay independent, or slowly lose the freedom you take for granted? Things like how you get out of a chair, how you brush your teeth, or how often you challenge your brain. You see, I've seen people in their 70s who seem unstoppable, sharp, mobile, alive, and others, just a few years younger, already dependent, frustrated, slipping fast. What made the difference? I learned 5 crucial habits, not the flashy ones, but subtle daily actions most people ignore. But here's the twist. I didn't figure it out by reading studies or listening to gurus. I saw it happen in real life. And one of these habits, almost nobody talks about it, but it might be the most powerful of all. Let's get into it. A few years ago, I watched my neighbor, let's call her Margaret, slowly go from independent to completely housebound within 18 months. No big fall, no disease. She just declined. But then I met someone else, Frank. Same age, even more medical problems on paper. But Frank was still driving, walking without help, sharp as a tack. Why? That question haunted me. I started looking closer. Not at what they said they were doing, but at what they actually did. And I noticed 5 small habits, tiny things. But they told the story before anything else did. Let's start with the one that's probably happening right now, and you don't even realize it. Have you ever noticed how you get up? Do you push off with your hands? Do you rock a little first? Or do you spring up without thinking? That motion, rising from a chair, is actually one of the strongest predictors of functional decline. I didn't believe it at first, but then I saw Margaret, who always pushed herself up with her hands, start struggling with stairs just 6 months later. You see, using your legs instead of your arms when getting up isn't just a mobility thing. It's a sign of strength, balance, and coordination. And here's the key. When people stop using their legs for simple movements, they lose them faster. Try this. Next time you stand up, cross your arms over your chest and see if you can do it without using your hands. Tough? That's your wake-up call. Because if you lose your legs, you lose your freedom. No. This isn't a lecture on dental hygiene. This is about fine motor control. Do you brush with steady hands? Can you floss without fumbling? It sounds silly, but your ability to perform detailed, coordinated tasks is a window into your nervous system's health. Frank? He flossed every night like clockwork. Margaret? She started skipping it. Not because she didn't care, but because her hands would cramp and shake. And those small declines? They often precede cognitive and motor decline by years. Here's the real lesson. Brushing your teeth isn't just about your smile. It's about maintaining dexterity, neural health, and self-awareness. The tiny things are always the first to go. Are you watching for them? I'm not talking about doing crosswords on Sunday. I'm talking real challenge, learning a new skill, playing an instrument, doing mental math, or even navigating somewhere without GPS. You see, the brain's like a muscle, and after a certain age, if you stop forcing it to work hard, it starts cutting corners. Margaret watched game shows. Frank played chess with his grandson and lost on purpose, just enough to keep the kid hooked. One stayed sharp, one didn't. Here's a challenge for you. Can you memorize a new phone number, learn a new game, write your to-do list from memory instead of reading it? If that sounds exhausting, that's exactly why it matters. Quick pause here. If this is hitting home for you, even just a little, leave a comment below. Share a tiny habit you've noticed changing, or one you want to reclaim. Because your story could be the exact thing someone else needs to hear. All right, back to it. The next habit might surprise you, because it's not even physical. Now this one is sneaky. How often do you turn down invitations? Say no to a walk? Skip an outing because it's just easier to stay home? It seems harmless at first, until you realize it's become your default. Margaret slowly stopped going out. First it was the book club, then church, then even her own grandson's recital. Frank? He made himself go, even when he didn't feel like it. Because here's the truth. Social withdrawal is one of the first subtle signs of cognitive and emotional decline. And it works in reverse too. The more you show up, the more your brain and body stay wired for engagement, balance, and purpose. So ask yourself, what was the last thing you said yes to that made you uncomfortable? In a good way? This is the one no one talks about. We all have that inner voice, but if yours is constantly saying, I can't do that anymore, I'm too old for this, or what's the point? It's more than just mood. That script becomes your reality. Frank's favorite saying, let's see what happens. Margaret's, I don't want to make a fool of myself. Guess who kept trying the new things? This isn't about blind positivity. It's about catching those quiet, automatic thoughts and challenging them, because your mind listens to every word you say, even the ones you don't say out loud. Now you know those tiny habits. They're not random. They're early warning signs, but also they're levers, small actions that can steer the course of your independence. What's fascinating is how they cascade. When Margaret stopped challenging her brain, she became less confident. When she lost confidence, she said no more often. When she isolated, she moved less. When she moved less, her strength declined. And suddenly, rising from a chair became a struggle. It wasn't one big thing. It was 5 small things, creating a downward spiral. Frank, he created the opposite. By maintaining his physical strength, he kept his confidence. That confidence made him say yes to social invitations. Those outings kept his mind sharp. That sharpness preserved his dexterity. And the cycle continued, upward instead of down. Want to know where you stand right now? Try this. 1 dot. Set a timer for 30 seconds. Count backward from 100 by 7s2. Without using your hands, stand up from your chair 5 times as quickly as you can. 3. Write your name with your non-dominant hand. 4. Name the last 3 new experiences you've had. 5. List the social events you've attended in the past 2 weeks. Struggling with any of these? That's not cause for panic. It's an opportunity to focus. We tend to think independence is binary. You either have it or you don't. But the truth? Independence erodes grain by grain. Slowly, you barely notice until suddenly, you can't do what you've always done. And here's what they don't tell you. Once you lose certain abilities, the road back is steep. Prevention isn't just easier. Sometimes it's the only option. That's why these 5 habits matter so profoundly. They're not just habits. They're the early warning system for your future self. We talked about 5 habits today. How you get out of a chair. How you brush your teeth. How often you challenge your brain. How often you say no, and how you speak to yourself when no one's listening. Each of them seems small, but they're each a thread, and when those threads start to fray, the whole fabric of independence weakens. But here's the good news. You can start reinforcing them today. Even if you've let some of these slip, it's never too late to turn the dial back up. Your body and mind are listening. And remember, you don't have to overhaul your life. You just have to notice. Correct? Repeat. Because at 80, your independence won't come down to luck. It'll come down to the quiet choices you make right now. My hope for you? That you'll stay sharp, mobile, and proud. Not just because you want to, but because you practice the little things that made it possible. If you found this helpful, hit that like button so more people can discover it too. Subscribe for more insights like this. And if you got a tiny habit that's changed your life, tell us in the comments. Sometimes the smallest things really are the most powerful.